All my damn respect to.
LeBron to end the half. Got it. What a way to end a purple and gold first 24 minutes.
LeBron James and the Lakers have rediscovered their swagger the last couple of games. They're still shorthanded, but will try to keep their momentum heading toward the break. Chris Paul and the Suns have plenty of mo on their side. They've won 11 of their last 13. It's a banana boat reunion for some, a Pacific Division showdown for all. The Lakers and Suns, even in the loss column, meet for the first time this season. Tip-off, Staples Center at 7, right here. Spectrum Sports. Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet. Lakers brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Chris McGee, James Worthy, Derek Fisher, Allie Clifton, Mike Bresnan, Mike Trudell. Everyone's a part of it. Congratulations, Fish. Re-signing NECA.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, man.
Nice.
Goma McKay sisters are back together.
They are back together. Just another feather in the old cap.
Yes, sir.
Not bad, not bad. All right, we start off with some big news for the Lakers. Marc Gasol, who had started all 35 games this season, is out tonight due to health and safety protocols. Gasol, in the last 10 games, was averaging over 7 points per game. He's shooting 42% from three. So, big game with no Anthony Davis. The loss becomes even more important of Marc Gasol, especially with the way he's been playing the last couple of games.
Yeah, I mean, he was starting to get going. I think he's getting in a little bit better shape. He's starting to knock down the three. Obviously, we know he was a good assist guy. And defensively, he did what he could do with, positioning. Sometimes he get quick hands in there, so he'll be missed. So replacing him is going to be tough. They got the small ball is good. They've proven that with Trez at the 5 maybe and Kuz in the game, that they've proven that they can play that way. A lot quicker, connected on defense, can switch a little bit more. So that's what they have. That's what they got to deal with.
Yeah, Fish, I was going to say, I know the Suns have DeAndre Ayton, but are you treating this like a playoff game and going small ball the whole way, pretty much?
Maybe not the whole way.
Yeah.
Without Mark, it makes it easier to think about approaching the game that way. And, for the Lakers, it's not so much that missing one player, is really the issue, but it's the sum and the combination. We start to
AD and Gasol. Yeah.
And Gasol up front. The strength of this team is their depth.
Yeah.
And when you take that out, as we've seen, they struggle when you start to take some of those bodies out. So it'll be a good opportunity tonight, though, to take a look at the version of this team without their bigs.
All right, now the Lakers' offense scored 117 points on Sunday, but a lot of it had to do with the defense. The defense and the Lakers are #1 in the league in defensive rating, and a lot of that has to do with the defense of Kyle Kuzma and LeBron James. Check this out. Both guys are in the top 5 in individual defensive rating. That is pretty impressive, along with Georgie Jang, Kent Bazemore, and Cameron Johnson. LeBron James having himself a season on that end of the floor. So now it's time for a little Fish's Focus, brought to you by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Good times. Lakers brought it defensively, Fish, against the Warriors. I know you love to see that. Break down what kind of caught your eye in that game.
Well, I think what jumped out is the versatility defensively that the Lakers showed, playing a little smaller at times. Gasol was in the lineup, but as you'll see here, and that music, guys at home, that was for our makeup room being back in the studio.
Yes.
That's why we had to play that music. Here you'll see Lakers defense, screen roll action, elbow to elbow. The Warriors are really good, 2 bigs, but Kuz really alert on the switch, communicates, gets the steal. Now the Lakers are out in transition going the other way. Subtle thing here. Dennis is not all the way into stealth, but this is not easy to have to navigate. The feet get tangled up, turnover created. Kuz, you normally don't like to save it there, but Lakers get back, boxes and elbows are covered. Alex Caruso doing a great job getting his hands in, creates a steal, kick it back to Kuz, get the easy dunk in transition. And then this last clip here again, just the Lakers' ability to navigate multiple matchups and situations. The Warriors here, a little DHO action. KCP, he wore it over, got through, creates a steal, clear pass foul, 2 free throws in the basketball. And so I think tonight we'll get an opportunity to see a lot more of that. Lakers not really worried about whether they need to switch, or stand matched up when they have that smaller lineup out on the floor.
Yeah, great breakdown right there, Fish. And it was fun to see the Lakers kind of connected for the last two games on that end, and they got so many easy buckets because of it. So great job showing that. I want to go inside access because the Lakers bring it defensively, but they have struggled, Fish, in big game against teams that hold a 600 win percentage or better. Obviously, those are the best teams in the league along with the Lakers, but take a look at the difference, guys. It's 112.9 points per game down to 101.3 the last four. You look at 36% compared to 29% in the last four. So Big Game James, what's the key against the Suns team that's playing awfully well, basically tied with you in the standings? Defending a good offensive team now tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of their last 4 or 5 games are due to, different combinations, not having a lot of time to prep for teams and the coaching staff experiencing with different combinations. Now you get Schroeder back. I think that gives them a little bit more strength. So tonight, I always go back to the basics. You can't turn the ball over. You got to get quality shots. Be aggressive. Try to create fouls, get to the line, do all of the intangibles, and play really, really good defense. That's the most important thing, is to be on point with your defensive assignments.
Yeah, Fish, a part of that, and James brought it up, Dennis Schroeder. I mean, yeah, you're playing the Nets and Jazz, and both teams had unbelievable offensive games. But with no Dennis, it just takes so much away from what the Lakers want to do in terms of attacking those guards.
Most definitely, and not just offensively taking it away, but defensively. If you talk about Anthony Davis already being out defensively, that impacts you a great deal. But then you take away Dennis's ability to get into the basketball, create pressure, create those turnovers that get the Lakers out in transition. That changes the game offensively for you. So you aren't as efficient when the shots aren't as easy. And Dennis does a great job of creating those defensively and offensively. Especially
in that Wizards game. I know it was an overtime game, but the Wizards put up, 126, 127. Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal. You really missed a Dennis Schroeder in that type of a game on the defensive end of the floor. All right, let's get you live to Lakers reporter Mike Trudell, who joins us at Staples Center. These aren't the same old Suns, Mike. They went 12-3 in February. They haven't been to the playoffs since Fish was beating them down in the Western Conference Finals.
No, that's true. Sometimes I've heard some folks in Phoenix talk about how that series could have gone other way. It's like, no, one couldn't have. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
You saw what happened in Game 6. How many shots, how many daggers in a row does Kobe need to hit before he pats Alvin Gentry on the butt, huh, Fish?
It wasn't close.
Yeah, no, there was no other way that series was going to end up.
Hey, just saying. I was there. Okay, I was there. All right, now, moving to today, guys, what we're trying to figure out is what the rotation is going to look like. Not only do you not have Anthony Davis, but, of course, Marc Gasol also out. So I asked Frank Vogel how that impacted what he was looking for in tonight's matchup.
It changes things a lot for us. Obviously, he's our starting center. And all I can really say at this point is that he's out for health and safety protocols. And, we're going to start Montrez and have a next man up mentality for tonight's game.
Frank, at this point, do you assume that he's out tomorrow as well, or will you not know for sure until tomorrow?
Still don't know. For sure.
And this as for Trez at the center spot there, Frank, what goes into that thinking, and what do you think are the most important factors for him on defense and offense against the specific Phoenix matchup?
Yeah, this could be a game-to-game thing. If Mark misses more than one game, we'll have to gauge the matchup. I think there's some value in keeping Trez in his role off the bench and putting somebody else in there to start. We still don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be available to us tonight. He's questionable and trying out to see if his back will loosen up right now. We're playing against a big dude, DeAndre Ayton. So Trez is going to be asked to go out there and battle him. They play a small second unit, so we'll counter that with a small second unit of our own.
And then, Frank, just on their backcourt, you got 2 All-Stars now. Like, you just had the matchups against Lillard and Steph, and just wondered how much you could play that way when there's a different option like that with Chris and Booker on opposite sides of the court.
Yeah, it's definitely different when you have another All-Star out there on the backside. But I'd also say that guarding Dame and guarding Steph are different than guarding Booker and Chris Paul. So there's different coverages required, and not really going to get into the details of what that looks like. But it's a different game plan than the last 2 nights.
All right, guys, update. Damian Jones is available to play in this one. Not only that, Geeter, but we're going to speak to him one-on-one in a few minutes here. And you wonder if that changes Frank Vogel's approach at all. It does sound like Harrell's still going to start, but you would understand if Jones did, just considering that Ayton is the starting center, and then they go small with the second unit, which is where Trez likes to feast. So we'll see if that switches up either to start or within the game. But the headline there, Jones is available to play.
Yeah, that is great news. It was a solid performance in his first game. I'm glad he gets another shot, especially going against the Suns, his former team. And nice job getting the word feast in there. Appreciate that, Mike, at all times. Laker fans, if you want to be featured on tonight's broadcast, check out our Spectrum Sportsnet Twitter feed and reply to our Modelo Fighting Spirit fan of the game post with a photo or video of you in your Lake Show gear. Get your posts in. We'll check out the fan of the game later in the show. All right, keep it here. For Lakers and Suns, everyone loves Frank the Tank. They have their own version in Phoenix. Frank Kaminsky, Mike Bresnahan's second favorite player of all time, the greatest product ever from the University of Wisconsin. The Suns are 10-1 this season when he starts. And coming up on Access, the Lakers handled their business in the blowout win against the Warriors on Sunday. Up next, Laker insider Mike
For Sunday's All-Star game, the first game the Lakers play is on March 12th at home against Indiana. And then 3 days later, they play the Warriors in San Francisco. With that, we want to welcome in our Lakers insider, Mike Bresnahan. Time for Brez's three-point play. 3 things that you were looking forward to in this game, and you want to give credit back to the Lakers defense, Brez.
Yeah, they definitely deserve a little retro credit for what they've done the last 2 games. Held 2 pretty good offenses, Golden State and Portland, both under 100 points. That's hard to do, especially without a guy like Anthony Davis. Start with that Golden State game just the other night. Steph Curry looked pretty pedestrian, didn't do much damage against the Lakers. And the Warriors' second leading scorer, Andrew Wiggins, I'm not sure what below pedestrian would be, but that's what he was. He had only 3 points against them. And of course, the previous game against Portland, it pretty much kept Damian Lillard in check in that second half. Laker defense definitely on a roll. I'd be impressed, though, if tonight they can keep Phoenix under 100. It's happened only once this year, back in January. It was against OKC, and there was a pretty big asterisk next to that. Devin Booker did not play because of a hamstring injury, but the bottom line, Allie, Lakers 12-1 when they keep the opponent below 100 points.
Just like that lower third said, shuts them down. Shut them down. Let's talk a little Dennis Schroeder, Brez. Since returning from the NBA's health and safety protocols, he's looked pretty good.
Yeah, I might have the stat of the year for the Lakers. Are you ready? Dennis Schroeder, the Lakers are 24-7 when he plays, 0-4 when he doesn't play. Maybe I should be his publicist or something, because that's a pretty strong number for him. His last 2 games, obviously, he's a big reason why the Lakers overcame that 4-game losing streak. He was big 2 games ago against Portland. He had 22 points, very impressive offensively. Earned big praise from LeBron in that game, who really complimented, his competitive spirit. And then, of course, the last game, he finished plus 32. What? Wow. That's pretty hard to do. Also led the Lakers with 6 assists against the Warriors. Dennis Schroeder, he's a pretty important part of this team, isn't he?
No doubt. Great numbers there, Brez. But from one point guard to another, what has stood out to you about the Suns' Chris Paul?
I got to admit, Allie, I was kind of a few doubts, okay, when he signed that big deal a few years ago when he went to the Houston Rockets. It was 4 years, $160 million. He was getting close to his mid-30s at that point, but here we are now. He's in the second to last year of that deal, and it's still paying off for him and now for the Phoenix Suns. Great numbers for him. You see the assists there. He hasn't averaged that many assists since his last year with the Clippers. I mean, that seems like decades ago, but he is definitely having fun out there. Got the Suns 1 game behind the Lakers in the standings. He will be in the All-Star game this weekend. A very good pickup for the Suns. And by the way, his last year of that contract, that'll be next season, it is a player option for $44 million. You think he's going to pick that up?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the Suns will be just fine with that, especially if he keeps playing the way he is.
No doubt. Should be a fun one tonight. Thanks so much, Brez.
You got it.
Straight ahead on Access, the Suns have Chris Paul, but his backcourt mate is no slouch either. Up next, we'll discuss how the Lakers can try to contain
We dedicate this segment to Brian Bergen, our director. He's the resident Suns fan, and he's pretending to not be confident tonight. Check out Devin Booker. He gives the Suns fans a lot of confidence. 33 points per game in his last 4, shooting 54% from the field, 4.5 assists, just under 3 rebounds, named Western Conference Player of the Week. He's got the whole virtual thing going. Bergen's excited, guys. Check that out. He made an executive decision for that. Listen, Fish, he's an elite scorer, man. Since the day he came in this league, he can get buckets, no doubt about it. Getting better and better.
Nah, and he makes it look easy, but it really isn't. I think coming into the league, came in at a really young age. I think we all saw his ability to make perimeter shots as a catch-and-shoot player. But he really has evolved as a scorer at all 3 levels. He can get to the rim and finish off the dribble. Obviously a great catch-and-shoot perimeter player. Operates in the pick and roll really confidently. Great size for a guard where he can also create plays for others. As you can see, averaging 4.3 assists on the season, which is a high number for a guy that is as great a shooter as he is. So the Lakers have their work cut out for them tonight, in particular without much rim protection.
Wasn't he the player that said don't double team in summertime?
He yelled at Joe Kim Noah.
Yeah. That's how much he wants to assassinate people, even when.
Don't double
when I first started to watch him play, you know a guy's talented physically, everything Fish said, but then you look at his eyes when he's playing. He don't think anybody can stop him. You know, when he gets to basketball, he measures you up. He's extremely strong, everything that Fish talked about, but his attitude is just as strong as his game. He never thinks he's going to be stopped. He has a variety of ways he can score. He's physical when he needs to be. So he's an exceptional player that, draws a lot of attention.
Suns are 11-2 in their last 13, and I give a lot of credit to CP3. I just think every franchise he goes to, I know he's never been to a finals, but every franchise he goes to, he's got him right there in the playoffs. This will be the first time the Suns are in the playoffs, literally, since you guys beat them in the Western Conference Finals 11 years ago. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's a long run. Every team, kind of has its cycles. But I do believe, leadership, character, mental toughness, those are things that when you've not been to the postseason in over a decade, you've basically been in the lottery of the NBA draft year in and year out. So lots of young guys that haven't really matured, developed, figured some things out about themselves. So when you add a guy like Chris Paul into, Devin Booker's maturity, I think Monty Williams and his staff deserve a lot of credit in terms of just some stability in Phoenix. James Jones has done a great job in the front office. In terms of putting the team together. So a lot of things going really well for the Suns right now, and a lot to be confident in if you're a Suns fan, even though we don't like that around here in this studio too much.
I agree with you, Fish. Listen, the franchise was not in a good place a few years ago.
No.
Bottom line. Yeah. And to see them have some stability and now some young stars with some veterans.
Yeah. Chris Paul, his ability to convey messages to young players, he has a lot of respect. He's been in the league a long time. It's like having a coach on the floor. He's like a connection to the coaching staff. So there's a reason, and he can still play and, coach spontaneously while he's playing with guys. So that's a big plus to have that kind of veteran. We talked about Rondo and what he's been able to do with younger players when so CP3 represent that in a very strong way.
That is our longest Suns segment in our 9-year history as a network. Lakers and Suns will tip off in a little more than a half hour here on Spectrum Sportsnet. Young Wilt, Damian Jones was waived a little more than a week ago by Phoenix. He's been cleared to play and will face his former Suns teammates. Plus, we'll talk to him about seeing his former team. And next on Access, LeBron James rested and Laker fans rejoiced. When we come back, D-Fit. Back on Access, LeBron James did something on Sunday he hasn't done in a long time. He sat the entire fourth quarter. King had 19 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. But the number that mattered the most was 24 minutes, which LeBron talked about after the game.
You take it for for what it is, and we was able to take care of business. So it allowed a lot of our big guys not to play many minutes. And yes, we played a lot of minutes because of so many overtime games we've had this year. But you take advantage when you can. You prepare as if you got to play 48, and you let the game dictate the game. So tonight was not needed. It was half of 48 for myself, and I'll take it.
Mike, how do you feel about the job you do punching the clock when you win the game and you only have to play LeBron James 24 minutes?
I sleep better at night, that's for sure. We want to make sure that we're managing him the best we can. He wants to be in there, and you respect that about him. So you just got to make sure that as the games go by, you try to stay away from overtime. That's been the biggest problem with the minutes for us is all the overtime games that we've had. But you welcome nights like this where you can keep those minutes low.
Let's bring in the Laker insider once again. Perez, the rest is nice. It also has some historical significance as well.
Yeah, for sure. And always good to hear that Frank Vogel is sleeping better at night, knowing LeBron is not taxing himself. LeBron, for a minute, by the way, last month was leading the entire league in minutes played per game in February. 4 overtime games will do that to you. But yeah, great rest for him the other night. We got a pretty good graphic here for you. Since 2010, it's one of his shortest games, period. You see one of those games, he left it a couple years ago with that groin injury. That one doesn't count. Throw out the one last August as well against the Kings, 15 minutes. It was a meaningless bubble game. The Lakers already knew their seeding at that point. So really his third shortest game since 2010. And you know that's definitely going to quell some of the questions the reporters have been asking both LeBron and Frank Vogel, and understandably so. LeBron is obviously a 36-year-old guy in his 18th year in the league. So when you get to that point in your career, typically the numbers go down, especially in the minutes column. Congrats to LeBron for not sitting out a game, and his numbers have not gone down. And unfortunately for him, February was a tough month minutes-wise, but he definitely got to end it on a very good note.
Perez, good stuff. We all sleep well when LeBron doesn't play the fourth quarter. It usually means the Lakers win by 30.
Indeed.
Yes. Good job, Perez. We appreciate it. Also means he's probably going to come to the Zoom quicker. It's always a good thing. Yeah. All right, Perez. Appreciate that, buddy. Good work. Listen, the minutes are down, but the buckets are not. Historically for LeBron, he is tied with Karl Malone for the most points all-time per game in a season, which a player is 36 years old, 25.5 per game. Kobe, Cap, and the Dream fill out the rest of that list. Not bad at all. Once again, time for Fisher's Focus, brought to you by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Good time.
That was a pretty impressive list right there.
Really impressive list, by the way. Had Dream in there, too.
Yeah.
He only played 24 minutes, Fish, but, man, he made the most of it. Break down.
Yeah, no, I think that's really the key. Like, some minutes are harder than others. So even sometimes if you play 24 minutes, it can be hard. I thought LeBron was really efficient against the Golden State Warriors. And a 36-year-old guy is feeling good when he's picking up full court and turning guys, getting the pace picked up, really active, communicating, calls out the switch, and then gets to the basketball first, creates a steal, gets the Lakers out into transition. Here, this is really hard situation. Trez has to commit, so now LeBron is two guys versus one, and he has to wait and be patient, reads it perfectly, doesn't commit to one guy too soon, gets out where nobody really can stop him in transition once he gets the shoulders down. Markieff taking advantage of his size on Damian Lee. Young fella here makes a mistake, turns his back completely to LeBron. And then again, as James talks about all the time, once LeBron gets those shoulders leaning in, nobody's stopping them. They make business decisions for sure to get out of the way there. And then now in transition, as you'll see, starting offensively, pulling up from Staples Center logo.
What?
That's not something we necessarily see every night, but he's feeling good from three again, which we know the team and LeBron had not been feeling so comfortable and confident doing lately. So a lot of things really starting with the defense. That's really where the efficiency began, creating turnovers, getting easy ones, and then you start to feel good, pulling up, hitting threes from almost half court.
Great breakdown, and that interception of Draymond's pass was one of the plays of the game. James, I want to ask you this. Does his defensive responsibility become even greater with Marc Gasol out. We've seen him lately after the 4-game losing streak, what he's put on his shoulders on that end, especially without AD. But now you have Gasol out as well.
I don't think it changes that much. He's gonna be LeBron on defense. He might say, hey, I need to get back in there and get a few more rebounds, which he already does. So no, I don't think his load is going to be, heavier. But what Fish just showed us in that breakdown was you always tell guys to be patient on offense. He's learned over years, having been in every scenario defensively, to be patient. A lot of guys react too early. He just he's very calm, very relaxed. He sees it coming. And that takes a lot of nerve to be, because defense is something where you're antsy a little bit, but those steals are timed perfectly. He kind of knew what was going to happen in the play. So patience on defense, man, he demonstrates it well.
Yeah, and by the way, I loved you showing him pick up a guy on the other side of half court. That means he's feeling good, or that guy said something. And he remembered. All right, let's send it over to Allie Clifton. What's up, Allie?
Peter, have you ever had a backstage piece made about you?
No.
Did you ever think that BT, Brad Turner, would before you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,